Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Working in Hockey podcast. I'm your host, Nick Bowins, and today, pleased to be joined by my guy, Lawson McDonald, founder of the Hockey Guys, and more recently, NoBad. Lawson, how you doing here today?
Doing really good, Nick. I'm coming at you from Winkler, Manitoba, so smaller town. I think are you in Toronto right now?
I'm in New York right now,
Oh,
but
you're in New York.
yeah.
How long have you been in New York for?
Been here for about a year now. Been here for about a year, getting settled in. It's a little different than small town Ontario. It's a little different than
Yeah,
Winkler, Manitoba, but
yeah. I know my vibe's always been small town. It's been like a change up big time when I played like college hockey in Omaha was like the biggest town that I ever got to live in and moved in. And it's like, to
yeah.
me, that was an amazing place, an amazing city. And everybody that I met in Omaha was like, get me out of here. This is like, there's nothing to do here. And I never quite understood it because I'm like, there's so much to do here. There's like, you guys got a Chipotle, you guys got a nice
Yeah.
movie theater, like all these things that I'd have to drive an hour and a half to get to in Winnipeg if I was ever going to go to like any type of hockey game or like a big event.
That's so funny. Movie theater is always my barometer for that too. Like we just
Yeah,
have to
yeah.
drive 45 minutes or whatever. If it's closer than that, it's a luxury. But yeah, New York. I will be glad that I did it someday. But it's definitely
Hmm.
different. I think we have probably my high school population in our apartment building, so it's
That's
different.
why.
But yeah, I not about me here today. I want to talk about you, my friend. You're up to a lot. Everybody's seen the content online over the past couple of years under the Hockey Guys, under NoBad. Everybody's seen the day in the life behind the scenes. But for those who want a little bit more in depth, tell the people about the Hockey Guys, about NoBad, about what you're up to day right now, Lawson.
Yeah, I think a good place just to summarize everything is that I was a hockey player, played college hockey in the US, started in Canada, I guess I should say, and then moved to the US to play college hockey for 4 years. And then that's kind of when COVID hit and started posting a ton more content on social media on my own page. And then that spun into starting a group account for myself and my teammates, which is called the Hockey Guys. And then after a couple years after that, started NoBad, which is our clothing brand inspired by hockey. And that's now the all the things that I'm kind of juggling, which is anywhere from doing content with the Hockey Guys still, working with different NHL teams and traveling to do content and promote and market those types of organizations and companies. And then as well as like kind of just starting the clothing brand and from no past knowledge of e-commerce or what it kind of takes to build it. It's a project now that takes up a lot of my time, but I'm super passionate about it. And it's something that, yeah, I believe in long term. So I'm kind of trying to juggle everything I can and lift everything up simultaneously.
Very cool. From the outside, you're doing a good job of juggling right now with everything on the go. But I want to circle back to when you first kind of started the Hockey Guys there. For some context, I was working on Triple Deke with JT Barnett at the time. And I remember we were always, kind of strategize with what do we do? It's COVID. What content can we create? And then you guys popped off and Brody True, I think, popped off. And we were like, damn, look at these guys go. Like with all the content you guys were creating, JT and I were just sitting in our living rooms wishing we were out on the rink creating some of the
Yeah.
content you guys were. But what was that like initial kind of plan, strategy? Was there a strategy or plan to create the Hockey Guys? How did that initial kind of content come to you while in school there?
Yeah, the starting of that really spun off of me wanting to be a content creator in college and just off of my personal brand. I
Yeah.
was actually inspired by Pat Shea because he did it
Yeah.
at the University of Maine. And when I started, I was like, I want to do something like that. I wanted to document this journey going through college, playing hockey, since I thought it was really unique and I thought not enough people were essentially doing it. So I started to do that for like a year and kind of got familiar with the social media platforms. And then when COVID hit, it actually, the Hockey Guys was more or less an accident the way it started.
Yeah.
The really original reason it started was because I posted a handful of TikToks on my own TikTok page, and those TikToks included my teammates in it, and those were always the videos that did the best on my own TikTok. So then I started just to kind of understand this trend of like, hey, everything I post that has to do with my teammates performs a lot better than if it's just me. So I'm like, I want to keep making videos with them. I was like, the team's going to perform way better on my TikTok page. I'm going to now just make a new account and call it the Hockey Guys and have content that involves like everybody on that page. So then it kind of makes sense that I have my personal page and then I have the Hockey Guys. Really, like as soon as I started that content really just took off from the very beginning, and it didn't have much strategy or planning towards it. I think everything like in the future made sense, but when it was really truly happening, it was honestly just, hey, let's have some ideas and let's post these ideas, and that is it. Like we'll just, if they do well, then we'll keep posting things, and eventually that just kind of snowballs into more of like a strategy and thinking about it more strategically. But yeah, truly the very beginning of it was just random ideas that we thought were funny, that hey, that nothing's ever going to come big of this, let's just call it the Hockey Guys. Why not? Like it's a simple name, nothing's ever going to do much, so why does it matter? There's no pressure. And I think that's a really good way to start, is like no pressure, just do it because you want to and you're having fun doing it, really.
No, 100% agree. I think the simplicity and just following what you enjoy, because more often than not, unless you're into some really weird things, people are going to like what you like too, right?
Yeah,
Always a
exactly.
good, always a good measuring stick there. But it's interesting to hear you say that things with the team perform better than yourself. I feel like hockey's always kind of that mantra of team first, team first. Don't be the individual. We see this sort of social media swing or change in the younger players, and there's always talk about that online and on broadcasts. But it's funny that even still today, the team content performs better. How have you seen content in general, content in hockey, change since you guys first started the Hockey Guys? The landscape has grown, it's changed a ton. How has it impacted or evolved what you guys do as a brand?
It's like changed incredibly, like so like a 180 change. Like we started, and when we were actually starting, we were really like the only hockey team whatever vibe on TikTok. Like there's actually a lot of NHL accounts that did not even have
Yeah.
TikTok. So it was kind of a fun starting point where it's like I knew every NHL account that had TikTok. We would post a video a lot of times, like they would post like the same thing, and we were outperforming a lot of those accounts just because we kind of got there first.
Yeah.
And it was really like a lot of the mini mic stuff, a lot of the stuff that you kind of see on NHL accounts today, just like creatively spinning off of what can we ask the guys going onto the ice, what kind of like fun Q&A can you do, what kind of trend could fit into it. And that was like a main chunk of it. But I think when we were doing it, what differentiated us a lot that none of the NHL teams could go is that we just took it a step further and did way more behind the scenes. Like we weren't like we made videos that were like in our college house that we lived in. There's no like NHL teams are just restricted to the rink mostly, but I think that's what gave us like a nice uniqueness factor, was just that we're in college, we have no rules, we can film in our house and we can make funnier videos that related to who we are as people and less who we are as like hockey players. And I
Yeah.
think that content was like the main stuff that helped us grow a lot. And then along with that, like we weren't scared to do a trend that had us dancing. We weren't scared to go on the ice and do something funny that I think just stood out like a sore thumb compared to anything that you would see when you're scrolling. It's like you're not going to see 8 hockey players on the ice choreographed, lined up, maybe doing a dance or a lip sync, and it's like, yeah, it's definitely different. But also, if you're want to stand out and be a page that people want to follow, I think being different or finding what makes you unique is pretty important. So that was like how content was. I think this day and age, the way it's changed is that it's a lot more competitive. A
Mm.
lot of like teams are kind of doing the same sort of thing, and I feel like it's hard to stand out. And I think the way that we're still trying to do that is still trying to dive into more of like who we are as just like friends. Even though we're not playing hockey, we're still trying to take that same component as we're still friends that are doing this together, and we're not just yeah, like that. Like that's always been something that we've needed to lean into, or else then we're just a group of guys that make content. But like I think the differentiator for us is that hey, we're best friends still. We were teammates at one point, and now we're still doing this together, and we're going to showcase that sort of like banter between us. And yeah, leaning into the behind the scenes has been a big thing for us to continue to do.
Yeah, that's very well said, and I think credit to you guys. The one thing that I've always felt with your social pages, with the brand, is an actual community, which doesn't always happen in sports or social media. You said the word friends a lot there. That's in you guys' Instagram bio still to this day. Like everything is community centric. And you have the same people commenting on every video. You have the same people involved, same people interested in the apparel now today. Everybody says in social media you need to build a community. How did you tangibly go about building a community when social media was in such a growth spot? Is there anything in particular you can point to that you're really proud of in terms of growing that core base community?
Yeah, I think the biggest things that other people can do and that we did to build a really strong community is first of all, like thing number one was we replied to every single comment as we were building from like 0 to 1 million plus. Like every single comment was replied to. And it was something that we like took time into being like, who's on comments for this video, even if it got sometimes it got 500 comments to 1,000. So yeah, like we're gonna miss some, but the first 100 or the first 50 comments, like we're in there for 10, 20 minutes replying to. I think that's a big thing that everyone can be doing today still to build community. Secondly, like we went on TikTok live a lot, so we were always in person connecting.
Yep.
That is another big thing that will build community. And yeah, I think like trying to be active in different ways where you would be on Snapchat posting behind the scenes, Instagram stories posting behind the scenes, and really trying to do things that feel raw and relatable.
Yeah.
So I think like there's the brands and stuff that or content pages, whatever, if you're not doing things and feeling like, hey, you're following someone's journey and you're really feeling like this transparent piece to it. I think if you're not doing that, then you're missing a lot of opportunity to build community, and people don't feel like why would they want to comment or why would they want to like and engage when they're just not seeing the full picture. So I think I think that's like the three key things to making sure that you're building a community these days would be to do those.
Yeah, I love that. I love that, especially the relatability. I feel like I talk about that all the time. Almost every episode here is making content relatable, making things relatable, whether it's a customer, a follower, whatever it is. Had a bad conversation the other day with a friend about like how relatability is more important than showcasing, because like more people are inclined to watch a Ford commercial than a Ferrari commercial, because nobody's going to get that Ferrari, but they want to know what that new Ford minivan looks like or whatever it is, right? So the relatability in content
Yeah.
is what matters the most today, because there is so much high quality production and high value things being out there that don't make you feel warm and fuzzy, or hey, I know that guy, or hey, I know somebody like them. I
Yeah.
want to talk about NoBad in a minute here, but I want to pick your brain a little bit on kind of brand partnerships, creator deals as well. I think that it is always tossed around, especially on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn. Everybody talks about getting those creator deals, but nobody really knows how to go about it. For somebody starting out, or somebody who's kind of picked up an audience over the past 6 months, a year, somebody who wants to start monetizing on some of their engagement, how do you look at brand partnerships today? How do you guys look at them at the Hockey Guys? What goes into a successful one? And to wrap up a long-winded question, like what do you look for in a partnership?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think to touch on all those points, we've done like just some credibility, I guess, for this topic. But it's like since the start of like we started building the Hockey Guys in college, which was like 4 years ago. Over those years, we've done so like many different brand partnerships, ranging from like many different price points. And that's been a big part of our business for the last 4 years. Wouldn't have been able to be here right now without working with brands and having a good like understanding of how this works. So first of all, like if we're starting from scratch and you're at like you have some following but like have not done a partnership before with a brand, The biggest thing is that if you're not getting those inbound like offers already, which you will, if you grow enough, you're going to get to the point where there is inbound. You're not going to have to work for them. But let's talk about like the side where you're not getting those inbounds and you're going to have to work for them. Then I think the biggest thing is like making, first of all, you have to make the list of like what are the products that you want to promote, or what are the things that you're actually using in your daily life. And
Mhm.
using an example of a hockey player, it's like if you're a hockey player and you feel like you can provide value to, whether it's a clothing brand, maybe it's NoBad, or whether it's a supplement or something like that, then if you're already using them and you're already using it organically in your content, then that's a great starting point to go into the DMs to that brand if you can't find an email, and DM them and say like, introduce yourself, say, send them the video examples that you've made with that product, and say that you're interested in doing influencer partnership with them. Say that you're looking to do a paid partnership. You don't want just like free product back. You can show them, say that you're showing action, that you want to get on a call with them to say, hey, like, I want to do X amount of posts. This is a product I'm using. I have a bunch of younger hockey players that are also following me. Here's why I think it could be a great partnership. And I think like if you're going to be doing that to like 10 brands, 20 brands, um, not all brands are going to be maybe interested in putting budget towards influencers, but I think that like that is just the game that you play, and you just keep doing it until you have a deal. Like there's no other way to go around that besides getting the inbound. But if you're going like to the outbound, it's all about reaching out and doing the work essentially.
100%. And I think, especially with that and sales in general, but especially with kind of influencer deals, brand partnerships, no very rarely means, oh my God, no, never, we're never collaborating with you.
Yeah,
Usually means not right now. So
yeah,
I'm sure there's been cases where you guys have kind of followed up, or, we'll put a pin in this one till next season or hockey
yeah.
season, whatever it is, right? I think that's important for people, is to
That
follow up
happens
on
so
that.
much.
A
Yeah,
100%, 100%. Budgets at different times of year. They want
yeah.
to do a peak month, whatever it is.
You got to
One more
be
question
like,
I
I'll
have.
just even touch on that. It's like, yeah, you have to be kind of pestering, not in a like a disrespectful way, but you have to be top of mind to the companies that you're trying to work with. And it depends on the size of the business. Like some corporations will have like their marketing person, and they have a lot of levels above that. And they're just looking at like, they're just influencer marketing in that business. Sometimes you're going to be talking to maybe the social media person and like the main, there's not many people, but the point is that if you're always reminding them like, hey, I'm interested, hey, I'm interested, and just saying like, hey, are you interested this month, or hey, I have this idea because there's a hockey tournament here, I'm thinking of going to it, I know your brand might be there, like another reminder that this could work, or here's a new idea why this could work. I think like continuing that, eventually you're probably going to land with them, or if not, it's a good work for in the future, because they then know, like if you, let's say, stop messaging for a little bit, at least they know they're probably going to be like, this is the creator that wants to work with us the most,
Yeah.
we're going to remember this, and we're going to have some, when we have the money for that, we're going to push it to you because of the efforts that you've put in. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, totally agree. And this is probably a hard question to answer, and obviously don't need to get into specifics of you guys, but how would you suggest somebody know their worth when they're first starting out? I think
Oh
it's
yeah,
a
it's
very
tough.
kind of convoluted market. I think we could Google right now what to charge for an Instagram post, and we'll probably see $100. We'll probably see $1,000. We'll probably see $10,000. How did you go about, or how would you suggest somebody kind of figuring out how to value themselves in a brand partnership initially?
Yeah, I think that it's a very hard question, and I don't even know that there's like a right answer for it, because you could have a brand, like knowing your worth more so comes down to what's the brand's budget, honestly. Like your worth, our worth can go up so high and like low. Like if we're talking to, let's say, my clothing brand, and if we get pitched something that's like above and beyond, we're just going to simply say like, No. And I think on the creator's view of it, you got to kind of look at that brand and be like, are they a public company? Are they Body Armor? Are they Gatorade? Are they massive? Or are they a startup like us? Like, are they, yeah, like a very smaller business that probably doesn't have a lot of budget, but they could still be working with influencers. So if you're the influencer, I think you just have to look at it as if they're a bigger company where you know they're putting millions of dollars into marketing, go higher in offering what you can provide. Like maybe you can't have a number in mind until you at least start with something, because for us, I didn't know what we were worth until the first deal that we got and we hit this ceiling of like, oh, like we can get a deal at this amount. I did not know that before going into it. It was just more so of like, here's the first one. I'm going to pitch out a number that, and to be clear, we had a manager that we work with that helped us do this, but
Sure, sure.
it comes down to this throwing out a number. Does that brand have budget for it? And if you feel like that's in the range of like, hey, we have 1 million followers, we don't think it's ridiculous to say this number, then go ahead and say it. And the worst thing that happens is that they say, hey, sorry, we only have half of that amount. Are you still interested? And then maybe half that amount you're happy with. And now, boom, you just found a number that works. But I think like there's a big range with it. And I think that there's no harm in like going higher than maybe what you think, in case too that they're maybe thinking even higher. And you're like,
Yeah.
you're in their lower end, what was in their mind. So that's yeah, very long answer to it, but there's a big like conversation on just, there's no right answer, and you trying to find it over time, more or less. And we've done, if we really want to do it, like if we're working with an NHL team, for example, they have lower budgets. Like they're not spending a ton of money on influencers to come to their games, but we're like, we know now what they kind of do, and we want to work with them badly enough where it's like, hey, that works for us. Like
Yeah.
we'll still come there to do something with you guys at this lower amount that's lower than our typical budget
Yep.
for, let's say, if we've worked with Body Armor, but we're going to do it anyway. So I think there's definitely no right answer where we just like say no to.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's totally fair. It's hard to pinpoint. It's different for everybody. It's different supply and demand and timing and all those things again. But I was having a conversation with a buddy the other day who was charging 1,000, and now he's charging 5,000.
Yeah,
And the only thing that changed is he's now asking for 5,000. Right? When
that's a
content
great
didn't
way to
change.
explain it, and that's
Yeah.
exactly what it is when you're kind of in the wild west of like influencers. That is what you play.
Yep.
That is the game. You charge what you want to say,
Yep.
and
Yep.
obviously, being is like if your number's too high, well, then you probably aren't going to get
Yeah.
a lot of brand. Like you're not probably going to be getting much business. So it's like we don't charge $100,000 because um, we're not a famous celebrity. If
Yeah.
we were to do that, then probably we wouldn't make any money. So it's like you kind of like it evens itself out as long as you're smart and you can kind of, or not smart, but it's kind of like, I guess, common sense. As long as you can understand like there is a sweet spot to it where you're gonna get some denials, but you're gonna get some yeses, and that sweet spot is giving you enough opportunity, then that's what I would look for.
Yeah, yeah, it's just having that feel for it and kind of finding the happy medium there. But switching from the creator side to the brand side a little bit more, we've touched on NoBad a fair bit, but I want you to kind of give the initial journey, initial thought behind the brand, why you wanted to create it, how it's been going so far, how your life has changed from more on the content side to now having to run an apparel business, an e-com store, and everything like you touched on. How's that sort of, I don't want to call it a transition because you're still doing both, but how's
Yeah.
that new journey kind of been with NoBad?
Yeah. New journey has been great. Very difficult, but it's been a lot of fun. Kind of like a new experiment or a new challenge. And I think like as a hockey player, like playing this kind of game of e-commerce and starting your own business like that is very different than just being an influencer doing brand partnerships. So I've really enjoyed getting to learn those new skills, and it kind of feels like a challenge of like I always challenged myself when I was in hockey of like, oh, I want to get a D1 commitment. And then there's this long road of work to get to that goal. And it kind of feels like that same thing of like, I want to build a successful brand, but there's now like, I think I can do it, but there's still years to come of like learning and like kind of dedication to get there. And I think like the starting point of like why this even started in the first place, um, it really came down to like me enjoying the hockey space and wanting to start more of like a Gen Z, more of a streetwear and business apparel related that could fill a gap where I just thought that there was more of like the hockey brands, maybe like Gong
Yep.
Show Gear and CCM and Bauer. Like to me, those are all brands that are great, and they're just not brands where I feel like maybe like my girlfriend at the time or like friends that are outside the sport feel like they're associated with at any means. It's like they're not going to buy a Bauer t-shirt because they're probably like not a hockey player and they just would never think to do it. But I feel like there was a brand that I could kind of put in the middle that had enough of like a streetwear vibe and more of like a casual lifestyle to the sport that could get the attention of like people that weren't that familiar with the game or people that kind of were but didn't play but still felt like they could be a part of, as well as like a brand that the athletes themselves feel like, hey, I want to be a part of this because it feels cool, it feels new, and it feels like a trendier style. And I got a lot of inspiration from other sports brands and different, like Malone Golf was a big one. And yeah, I just like, I think like that was like a big thought in my head for a while that I was like, I feel like this is something that I wanted to put into existence, and hopefully that can get new people's attention for the sport. Hopefully it can grow the game, and hopefully it can get even athletes excited to be a part of, because maybe if you're a hockey player making content and you feel like working with Bauer, CCM, or some other clothing brand is inaccessible, well, we have a brand in the hockey space that's looking to work with content creators in the hockey space. It's looking to find ways to highlight what you're doing as an athlete. And that's like, I just think that was something that was missing that I want to bring to the table.
Yep, that's very well said. And I think even in that response, he kind of touched on the building the community element with NoBad there as well, which is awesome to hear. What was the hardest part, or hardest thing you've had to learn about kind of starting the apparel brand here?
Oh man, everything feels like, at least. Yeah, I think that's a really good question. Like I'm gonna list off that, like learning just like the basics of apparel, of like how many different fabrics there are out there, the weights of it, like why we want to do one version versus like a different version, the timing of everything, and just understanding what the cycle of a apparel business
Yep.
looks like. And typically, I was just under the impression beforehand of just doing, we're just going to do some drops, and just like whenever it gets here, we're going to market it and drop it. And slowly realize like there's so much more to that to be successful, and there's so many like pieces of that puzzle that really make that all work, that from the outside it seems like that's what these brands are doing, but in reality they're doing so much more when they're launching their ads around it, the emails campaigns that they'd be sending out, the way that they're building their email list, the way that the site is organized. Like to me, like that's all stuff that I'm starting to slowly learn about. But the level that I wanted to take NoBad again was to be what you might think of like a Kith or a super high end brand, but in the hockey space. And for me, if that's my vision, I have to do everything to that level of what these people are doing it at. And we're years away, but just like, I look at their website, okay, oh, they have this, they have that. Now I got to learn to build that myself, or how am I going to achieve that flat lay image that they do? Like, how am I going to make it look professional? Because I feel like to stand out, similar to my analogy of making content, it's like if you're a brand in the hockey space or a content creator in the hockey space and you want to stand out, then it's just super important to do things that make yourself unique. Like what are the brands currently in the hockey space doing, and what can NoBad do differently? But to answer the first question, there's there's like everything is kind of difficult, and I didn't expect maybe everything to be as difficult as it is.
Well, I think you're doing good now. I think you're on the journey. You're figuring everything out there, and yeah, definitely check out the clothing line if you guys haven't yet. It's awesome, high quality stuff, and like you said, kind of modern blend that anybody can wear. You don't have to be an NHL player to wear gong show
Yeah,
or whatever it is.
definitely.
Yeah, I love that answer. I see you talk often as well on TikTok and otherwise about the different tools and platforms that you use to make everything happen. Whether it's Canva, whether it's Notion. We talked a little bit about changing landscape of content. The landscape of tools and platforms is changing a ton right now with AI and everything
Yeah.
else going on. What products, tools, platforms do you lean on to make your life easier, both with NoBad and with the hockey guys?
Yeah, the biggest three that stand out, I use Canva every day. I use ChatGPT every day,
Yep.
and I use Notion every single day for many different reasons. For all three of them are for many different reasons. I think that I always try to do like a really good job at staying in tune with, like, for me, I use Twitter for this, is like I follow a lot of people that are way ahead of me, and I just take notes on like what are people talking about, what are people using, and then I always try to spend X amount of time just experimenting with something new. Like, if you're going to get into the game of using ChatGPT for whatever it is, you have to like set aside some time to at least like
100%.
experiment with it. And I feel like I've unlocked a handful of doors of efficiency through doing that, where it's just like I tinker around with like, like I have an idea to maybe I can make emails, or maybe I can make my content scripting a little bit more efficient by just like giving ideas to ChatGPT every Sunday, just like brain dumping everything
Yep.
that I did throughout the week. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I realized that I can like say a lot, but I'm not very good at articulating my thoughts. But a big unlock for me is that, okay, if I upload paragraphs of like my business fails of the week, my wins of the week, like what I'm doing, like what's going through my head, just in a messy like voice note. It organizes that information really nicely. And
Mhm.
I never knew that I could use it for that until I
Yep.
just like gave myself some time to experiment. So I think that's just a really big thing. And it does bug me because I know there's a handful of things that I'm not doing with it that I think I could. But
Yep.
again, it's just like having enough time to find out what you can do, and continue to experiment with new technology and all of that.
Yeah, no, it's ever evolving, and like you said, I think it's about finding the inefficiencies and knowing what you're best at, and knowing where you could use support. And
Yeah.
for me lately, I've been using ChatGPT a ton to ask it what other tools I should be using. Like,
Oh, that's
hey,
a good
this is
idea.
currently my process on Beehive for my newsletter. I'm pulling jobs here, I'm posting things here, or at my day job, like I just set up a new finance AI tool today because I found it through ChatGPT. Like
Cool.
telling it your problems or things like that, I
Yeah.
think you said kind of feeds into that as well.
But I think
Um,
like I think like that's kind of one some people don't understand, even, which is totally fair, is that you don't understand until you do it, until it becomes like a
yeah.
pattern that's like in your head of like, oh wait, like I can tell it my problems to
Yes.
get the answers, versus like not knowing that you can do that. But that's just even like a level that always like the step of like, that's why I just like experiment with it, because you
Yeah.
always like you build more trust that you can ask it those questions of like, what tools should I be using, and then boom, like now you have an answer for that, where maybe originally you'd be googling it, or like not
Yeah.
knowing what you don't know. So I think that's a good, yeah, it's a great thing to do, is like explain what you're thinking, like truly just like explain what you're thinking, and sometimes you go down and you get good answers out of that.
Yeah, and kind of reverse engineer it, right? Too. If you were using Google for that, I would probably type in what are the best email marketing platforms.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm on ChatGPT, I can say this is what I'm doing, this is my pain point.
Yeah.
What do you suggest? Then it's not giving me a paid SEO blog post with the five biggest HubSpot,
True.
blah blah blah. So yeah, I think dumping your thoughts, kind of reverse engineering. I think that's a way that people can lean into
Yeah.
technology and tools a lot more
It,
today. We've kind of touched on a lot of different entrepreneurial areas here. Did you always know you were going to be an entrepreneur? Did you think specifically about becoming an entrepreneur, or did you kind of just fall into that path through the creation journey, like you said earlier?
Yeah, more or less fall into the path. I think I knew that I wanted to be a business owner,
Hmm.
because even when I was in college, I was taking exercise science, and I wasn't taking exercise science because I necessarily wanted to just be a strength coach. I was taking it because I'm like, I wanted to own a gym. I wanted to be that, main business owner of this gym and to train athletes, but to be the more or less, yeah, the person in charge of that. But like to start something new, maybe not so much. And that's where content, I remember like just as soon as I started making videos and stumbling down that path, it kind of just forced me to have more responsibility because I cared about it so much. So I cared about it so much, which inevitably just made me need to figure things out on my own. So whether that was like taking calls with like NHL teams at the time early on in college, whether that was coming up with my own ideas to how we could work with them, and then to, okay, how are we making money, and then how, the transition to then starting NoBad, how do we, like, it all comes down to more of like, um, I want to, like, I do enjoy doing this and I care about it a lot. So therefore, it's kind of like do or die, where, I'm going to start a clothing brand, because like I believe it can work and I want to continue to do it. And just taking action on those kinds of thoughts along the way, it just molded me into that, I guess you could call it like entrepreneurial type of mindset that I didn't have before. I would definitely say that I wasn't someone that had that before.
Yeah, that's a great answer. And I think I say on here probably almost every episode, but I always urge people to start their own thing. And that doesn't mean you have to be an entrepreneur. It doesn't mean you need an LLC and a giant business plan and some funding and whatever. It just means start posting content.
Yeah.
If you love writing, start writing about your favorite team. Like just put some stuff out there and kind of see what happens, and those pieces fall into place a lot of times.
Yeah.
But
I think
following that
that was,
corny advice,
sorry
yeah.
to cut you off. I was even going to say, like, I think that what you said is very true and right, where like at the very, very beginning, I just started doing it by posting content, but like the reason why is important, because like the reason why is just because like for fun. Like that
Yep.
is it. It was for fun, and rather than like, because at the time when I was making YouTube vlogs in college, it just came down to, rather than watching TV, rather than playing video games, it wasn't forced. Like that was just what I truly rather do with my time than anything else, because it was more enjoyable to film my day to day and to edit that video and to get to post it than like doing the other things that I mentioned. So I think that's where, if you can find something that like you enjoy like that, doesn't have to even go too much further than that. I think like in like, oh, how will this make money or whatever. I mean, yeah, I think that's a, like, start with the for fun thing. What do you want to do? What's going to be enjoyable, and then I think like a lot of the other stuff can fall into play in the future.
I 100% agree, and that's a perfect piece of advice. But I will explicitly ask to wrap things up here. Any career advice, any advice for people looking to work in the game of hockey, or advice for people looking to start brands like you have over the past couple of years?
Yeah. Career advice for working in hockey, starting brands. I do think, I mean, it does touch on, I'm trying to think of something that wasn't said, of just like starting for fun. So, I mean, if you've done that already,
Yes.
I think, yeah, check that off the list. Do something that you enjoy. And then I think it comes down to, I think being on social media, honestly, is a very important piece to that. I think that's what I'm realizing a lot with starting NoBad, which is more of a brand that's not everybody knows in the hockey space. But what I've gotten from just posting about what I'm doing and documenting what I'm doing for fun, like the documenting of that process, has opened doors. Like going on to this interview, like, getting DMs from someone else that's asking if I can help them with something, and those are business opportunities that I did not go out and seek. They kind of came to me, and which might end up molding my business and might mold what I do and might mold what I end up doing in 5 years. But the whole thing starts from just documenting and putting yourself out there. So I think like if you're getting into working in hockey and you already have a skill set, then that's a great place to like highlight your skill set. Because one example of this would be I've a lot of times searched for designers, and a
Right.
lot of times I don't go on Fiverr or anything like that. I see content from people. So if you were someone that wanted to work at hockey and you had a skill set in like graphic design, if you just made designs for in the hockey space, if you made designs for NHL teams just for the sake of like making the content out of it, I guarantee you would have got my attention because I have worked with someone through that. They tweeted illustrations in hockey that they'd done, and I've messaged that person and I've worked with them. And like, it's not, for me at least, it's not a full time thing just because we're not pumping out designs that often. But like, there's just an example of like someone got a job opportunity because they're just posting their skill set there, and we've paid them now to design for NoBad. So, yeah, I think that's like a great place to start. And then I think just connect the dots, and you'll meet new people that way, and you'll make connections. And I think as long as you have a skill set that people probably want, then um, assuming that that's the case, then I think you can work in hockey just by being vocal about what you do and talking to people. And I think there's a lot of, now that I'm in more in maybe the business hockey side of the space, I think what I'm learning is that there's a lot more businesses that are just popping up, a lot of more entrepreneurial type of things. Like I see like so many different brands and hockey adjacent stuff
Yeah.
that's like, oh wow, like people, a lot of people are popping things up that that are like more or less in the sport. And there's a lot of people, like I think like if I can speak for myself, it's like I want to work with people that like hockey as well. I want to work with people that whether they're players, former players, or people that just like understand the sport, because I think that gives us an advantage too. Is if we have other people in the our brand ecosystem that also is like they get it, like they understand it, they get what we're doing, they agree with what we're doing, and those are the people that I want to build a team around too.
That's a perfect answer because career advice, entrepreneurial advice, hockey advice, and advice for what Lawson might be looking at NoBad someday when they're
Yeah,
hiring. But dude, this was awesome. I can't thank you enough for the time here today. I think it's again super interesting to hear your journey from playing hockey to working in hockey, both brands that you've kind of built and the endeavors in between them, the creator stuff as well. I think that'll help a lot of people. So truly thank you for the time here. Tell the people where they can find you online, find the clothing brand, or reach out if they have questions.
yeah, I mean, just first of all too, thank you, Nick, for having me on. And it was really great to chat about this stuff, and definitely hope that anyone listening maybe was motivated to start their own journey and start something new, or just start doing something for fun that they enjoy.
100%.
And yeah, my social media is Lawson underscore McDonald. Try to stay active on TikTok and Instagram, showing behind the scenes and some founder led content. And then NoBad apparel and NoBad shop are the social media handles for the clothing brand. And then the hockey guys is our group account that we still post on TikTok and Instagram on too.
Perfect, perfect. And LinkedIn's going to be popping here for Lawson soon
Yeah, and
too.
LinkedIn, definitely.
We'll wrap it up here with your Stanley Cup champion choice. We're just about through round one. Who do you got?
Can you guess?
Winnipeg.
Yeah, you bet. The Jets. Yeah.
Shout out to Winkler. Shout out to Winnipeg.
See if they win tonight, but going for Winnipeg Jets to win the cup. I mean, it would be a fun. I think it'd just be a fun Stanley Cup final. But overall, I'm hoping any Canadian team can pull it off.
Amen.
I would
Amen.
love to see Edmonton, love to see Toronto as well.
Yeah.
So nothing there would disappoint me at all.
Now that Montreal is out, I will say I'm happy for any Canadian team remaining to win the cup.
Yeah, good.
Awesome. Well, that's been another episode of the Working in Hockey podcast here, guys. Thanks again for coming on, Lawson, and we'll see you next week.